All right, President Trump took part in a town hall of quote-unquote undecided voters on ABC last night, which is a bit of a joke considering some of the questions that were asked. But much of the focus was on the president's COVID response. Take a listen.
We still are dealing with 195,000 deaths in the United States right now. When you see that, when you think about that, does that give you any pause? Does it make you think, is there anything I could have done differently? Anything?
I think we could have had 2 million deaths if we didn't close out the country.
So you regret nothing?
No, I think we did a great job.
All right, well, joining us now to discuss all of this is the former director of the White House Domestic Policy Council and assistant to President Donald Trump, Mr. Joe Grogan. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
All right, Joe, you were on the coronavirus task force. Do you think that you did the best job?
Well, look, it's very difficult for me to criticize anybody who's still there, except, without self-criticism. I mean, I need to look at my own performance objectively. I can tell you I was working 12, 14 hours a day from mid-January all the way until I left in May. I was in the coronavirus task force every day and spending, at the end, almost 100% of my time on coronavirus. If I have to look back on mistakes that I made, probably the top one would have been giving too much deference to the career scientists at the various agencies. It's ironic that this is a president who gets criticized for not paying attention to the so-called experts. And Joe Biden has said, of course, he's only going to pay attention to the experts. But the people that were least worried about COVID-19 were the professional career scientists. The people that were raising the alarm were the political appointees. I would put Matt Pottinger, the deputy director of the National Security Council, in that bucket. Ken Cuccinelli at the Department of Homeland Security, Peter Navarro, and myself. But still, I should have pressed, for instance, CDC when they said we are going to have a test on time. And their career scientists were on the TV in the Situation Room. They said, we will have a diagnostic ready in next week, the week after. We shouldn't have trusted them. They continued to screw it up. We should have pushed on FDA sooner and their career people. And frankly, we should have pushed on NIH.
But the narrative in the media, Joe, is not that. What you're telling me now is so different than the media narrative. It's Dr. Fauci's great, the career officials are great, and the political screwed that all up. The narrative that you're just saying never actually gets out. It's the president made the wrong decision and never listened to these career officials who are apparently brilliant.
Well, listen, it doesn't deny their brilliance to say that they can make mistakes. I think the fundamental problem is that the bureaucracy failed this president when he needed it most. We have dumped billions of dollars into CDC, the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Response, BARDA, NIH, FDA, all around the idea of responding to a pandemic. I'm not saying that any particular scientist in making a mistake isn't a genius or the best person in the world. But the fact of the matter is they made mistakes, and it was a novel virus that no one had seen before. But time and again, we were assured there's no asymptomatic spread. Masks don't work. Masks work. I mean, it's new. You've got a virus that no one's ever seen before, and the best scientists in the world are learning as we go. And in the beginning, they didn't want us to shut down travel from China. They said it would make matters worse. They didn't want the president to shut down travel from Europe. They said it would make matters worse. Now, there's all sorts of public health doctrine, preparedness response, that would dictate that. Now they recognize the president was right in taking his action. But the ones who were pushing the hardest to say shut down travel from China were the non-scientists. They got there faster than any of the experts who had trained for decades for precisely this response. So I don't think the president gets enough credit for his actions and the things that he did and the amount of work and effort that he was putting into this.
All right, so talk to me right now. We keep hearing about the vaccine and whether or not we're going to have one by the end of the year. Based on what you just said, are we going in the right direction in terms of developing and deploying a vaccine?
Between the companies that are coming forward, NIH and FDA, and I worked at FDA in the Bush administration, and some of those career employees are still there. They're the best in the world at what they're doing. But vaccine development is hard. It is not a simple thing. you have to count on them not delivering on time or failing or not having a perfect vaccine. The best vaccine in the world is going to have some adverse events. And the media is going to go out there and say, look, FDA was pressured by the president, don't take the vaccine. Kamala Harris was saying it this week. She's saying I don't believe that. I don't believe that the career scientists will buckle on this. But this is hard. And I think, frankly, it's a little bit crazy for us to remain in shutdown mode in perpetuity until we get a quote unquote perfect vaccine, because it won't happen.
So, Joe, I apologize because we're out of time, but I need you to answer this question based on your expertise and your work at FDA. If the FDA says that a vaccine is approved, should every American feel confident that they should take that vaccine, or is there any chance that they could succumb to political pressure?
Well, they will not succumb to political pressure, but ultimately you're going to have to consult with your doctor. If you are at high risk, you have an underlying condition, you might have a different risk profile than I do, who's relatively healthy. But I'm almost 50. Maybe it's a different risk profile than,
but we should have confidence in the FDA. That's the bottom line. So when Harris and Biden tell people they might not take it, they are hyping this and they are creating panic when it's not due.
I would never, ever question the way that they are doing this, the scientists at FDA on this. I have confidence that they will do the best job imaginable and that they will not succumb to political pressure.
Great. Joe Grogan, thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise with us. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, the president brokered a historic peace agreement at the White House yesterday. But do you want to know what the mainstream media cared about? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't peace. That's next.